Hello, I'm Nico. Welcome to this recap of the Intentions book Hui. If you're here, you must be interested in the project, so thanks for coming along. Watch the video, find out about the process, and make sure you sign up to the mailing list so you can get reminders. And I hope to see your submissions before October 1st. Thanks.
All right. So the purpose of today's call, anyway, is just to get you guys all together, with the hope that I can get as many of you following through with the Intentions Book challenge as possible. And it will give us a chance to kind of talk through any issues or barriers you feel like might arise. So wanted to start by sharing some background. So me and Kimmy have been artists for over 10 years. We started in Wellington. We had a flat and we would just start collecting random like recycling from our cafe job and stuff from skips on the street and making these kind of weird little artworks, and then we put them in the park right by our house. And one of the things we would always put with them is like blank books where people could write in with a pen. And these books were amazing. Like they filled up with the most amazing interactions. Um, And over the years, like any huts that we've put out in the bush, many huts that people can sit inside, we've always had a book. And yeah, there's something really amazing about reading people's handwriting, seeing their little drawings. There were poems. At one point, we had one that was just like a tin can nailed to a post. And there was a book in there. We wrote, "Careful what you wish for" on the front of it. And so people ended up writing all their wishes. And that was really beautiful. Like sometimes we would have these interactions where people were like calling out for help, and then people would answer, and like these really incredible reactions. So ever since then we've kind of like been wanting to bring this aspect back, but obviously we're isolated out in the Waikato, and everything's like digital, and it's like quite hard to replicate that in a digital space. So this year, I really just wanted to make it my intention to give it a go. Like, see if we can come up with a creative challenge, get people involved, and like I'll do my best to like encourage from the back. And if it doesn't work, then at least like we know we tried, right? And obviously, yeah, the Doc Intentions books, like that's the first thing we do when we go to a hut is read the book. And I'm always looking out for little drawings and like people like writing naughty stuff in there, or like outside the margins. Um, I love that shit, and Kimmy does too. And yeah, I think it's just like a really interesting thing of like when you go to like who is coming to the hut and like who loves the bush. And yeah, kind of like I just want to delve into that because obviously we've got a lot of publications that are looking at tramping from like the sports lens or the club lens. Um, but bringing that kind of creative lens is really interesting to me. So I'm really fascinated to see how um, yeah, like what comes out of this project. And yeah, so the sort of end goal is a public journal by trampers for trampers, um, that reads like someone's ripped the rules out of a hut book. Being in nature for me is like hugely inspiring. Like I get heaps of ideas like flooding through. Um, and that's like the main reason I'm motivated to tramp basically. Like just spending that extended time. I think like there's lots of science behind it about like walking on uneven ground, and like looking at pure chaos instead of man-made order. It like kickstarts the right side of your brain, and that's obviously where our creativity comes from. Um, for me, yeah, it's just like kind of like gets pushes the stress out of my pores and just like lets the creative stuff flow. And yeah, I know that that's like it must happen for everyone else, right? Like I'm not like some exceptional thing. So if we can gather these, yeah, I've got nods, and yeah, it happens, right? Like it's like a human thing, just like with all the other aspects of tramping. Yeah, so I'm keen to see if we can gather some of these thoughts from people's brains. So let's go through the process. It's like I said, it's basic. It's just 3 steps, but you never know which parts are gonna kind of like become barriers for people, right? Like, because obviously probably most of us here are like into tramping. But maybe you've never gone to a hut before, and that's like the hard part is like actually getting out and finding a hut. And there's amazing people on Instagram like Back to the Wild and Shoshana and stuff who really share like a lot of that stuff about how to just start doing it because there are so many huts that are just like an easy walk in, like only half an hour or a couple of hours. But it doesn't have to be staying in a hut. It can be anywhere that you have access to nature and just like removing distractions, out of reception, even if you have to fake it and like just turn your phone off. Um, but and the staying overnight is important too, I reckon. Like for me, day walks are great, but I still feel like I'm doing something all the time. Like I feel like if you're out in the bush overnight, then you have the chance to get bored. You've got like nothing to do apart from like eating, getting your sleeping bag out, like it's basic. And that's where the magic comes in, I reckon, when you're just like forced to be bored because who gets that opportunity anymore? And then step two is obviously bring a blank notebook. And we're going to go through this in more detail. So yeah, there's a few ideas to like kind of get the creative juices flowing. Like I said, everyone's going to be at different stages. Some of you will just be completely used to writing in journals and sketching and everything, but maybe some of you have never done that before. And I wanted to make you aware that that's like available to you. Everyone has a hand, can pick up a pen, you can draw, right? Um, so wanted to start by like imagining yourself in the hut. You're sitting at the hut table, you've got your cup of tea, and you're like tramping snacks, which is the best part of tramping, let's be honest. Maybe it's really dark and you've got a candle going and your head torch. Or maybe it's the morning and you're like sipping your coffee, watching the sun slowly rise through the like foggy windows. And before you is your blank book and your pen, and maybe like some pencils that you like chucked in your pack at the last minute. And so these are some questions you can kind of ask yourself. What intention brought me here today? Does this still feel relevant now that I'm here? Is there a lesson coming through? And how do I feel right now? So once again, I think like your inspiration may just come through naturally, especially if you have like been tramping, and like I said, getting your right brain kind of going. But these kind of like questions and exercises can be a way to kind of kickstart something if you're feeling stuck. And then yeah, so basically just letting yourself freely write. I think like if you have a whole book, then you can just kind of like start writing and don't feel like you have to share every single page, obviously. Like just get some junk pages out. Um, and then sort of you'll feel when you feel ready to actually share something. And then you can start on a blank page and just go from there. Another one that I thought would be quite a good exercise is writing it as a letter to someone. So I know that there's a trend going around at the moment on Instagram of meeting yourself a coffee when you were 20, your 20-year-old self. So I really love that idea of like writing a letter to yourself in the past, like maybe when you first started tramping, or writing to your kids, or like it could be a pet, or um, yeah. One story I wanted to share actually is my mum's a really keen tramper, and she recently went down to Rakiura to do some solo tramping because that's where her husband passed away tragically a few years ago. And so she went and stayed in a hut, and she was just like the only one there. Um, and she started writing a letter to him. And she said it was just like the most incredible experience. She had like, she just like felt like he was there. And then she asked him for a sign. This massive rainbow appeared for like 10 seconds. So yeah, writing a letter to someone can be a really great way of like, yeah, framing it. And then drawing. One thing that I like to do if I'm feeling stuck is actually just drawing what I see. Um, and like, so sort of like I like that one line method where I like having my eye on an object and just like follow the outline of the object with one line. And yeah, I really love the idea of like all these little like wonky little sketches around your words. Um, yeah, I think it's like it's that whole thing of like the creativity of the writing and the drawing can kind of feed into each other. And so yeah, should we invite Andrew to show us Andrew is a Wellington-based artist, illustrator, writer, and educator, and he runs all kind of workshops encouraging people to start drawing. Um, I really love his work, so let's get Andrew up here.
Yeah, kia ora. Thanks for having me. I just did some little doodles while you're talking.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, so keeping a sketchbook is something I've done for a long time in all aspects of my life, and I thought I'd just show some of the ways I've done this kind of thing before. So, like, here is a drawing of some dinosaur lollies, which tramping snacks are the best part, and a carved piece of firewood that we made at this hut, and a snail shell and a little candle. So you can just do a whole lot of little drawings is often a easy way to fill a sketchbook page. It's a lot simpler than like trying to do a whole scene or getting totally caught up. And the drawings don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be anything. You just have to do them. And that's the hardest part, I think, just being okay with being able to draw, like just put pen to paper. So you can draw something and then do something else later on. You don't have to do it all in one go. But you also can do it all in one go. You can draw all the washing hanging up in the hut, or draw the hut from the outside, like my favorite thing to do. Or even like drawing a landscape with a giant triangle in it. But yeah, there's lots of different ways you can get into it. And yeah, so if you're drawing an object and you're overwhelmed, the easiest way to start is to get a pen, and I've got a coffee cup that I'm going to just stick over here out of shot, and you can just take a pen line for a walk all the way around the outside, and then once you've got that, you've got your starting point. So you don't have to worry about things being perfect or lining up exactly. Just get that pen on the page. And in my mind, if you use a pen, it's easier because you just have to accept that it is what it is, and anything that goes wrong, well, such is life. And so there we've got the real crash course, quick fire way of drawing something is like take a line for a walk around the outside, look for ways into the center of the object. And if you draw more objects on one page, like this one that I've lost it now, the one that I had before with the lollies, if you draw lots of little drawings, it's kind of like Andy Warhol's rule of like, if you do lots of little cruddy drawings, it will always look good as a whole thing. Like they don't have to be, each drawing becomes less important the more drawings you do. But yeah, that would be my brief guide to getting started with a sketchbook, I'd say.
What do you write about? Like what have you written on that page?
This is about how we had to change the trip we were going to do because my brother dislocated his shoulder. I don't know, we ate well, what we had for dinner. We played cards. My brother won. And then we chopped a heap of firewood. So it's nothing like particularly profound or anything.
Yeah, that's great though.
But
Like
yeah,
especially paired with the drawings, I think
yeah,
it's just an insight. It's just a tiny insight into what it's like to be in a hut to go tramping.
don't think too much. That's my thing. Like when I'll just start writing and then I'll write whatever I wrote. Like
Okay, so a few other things that I wanted to touch on. One of the amazing things that I really love about going to a hut is how whatever kind of real world status or like titles we give ourselves, when you go to a hut, you're just humbled to the basic needs. You're all sort of on that same level. So I feel like embracing that kind of energy is really nice for the drawing, for the sketchbooks. Like you don't have to explain yourself all in one go. You can be anonymous if you want, like you don't have to sign your name to the pages. It's just about your human experience in that moment. Yeah, and the other thing is like why should I share? I feel like this is an important one. Because I think as artists we're kind of used to the idea that like to to call it art, you have to share it. But maybe not everyone's kind of aware of that concept. One thing I really connected with when I was reading this book about tikanga Māori was that being visible to your community is like a vital aspect, you know, being seen. And I think that's like why we are so sort of drawn to social media. But like I think obviously there's downsides to social media. Like we're either like glossily like yeah, like displaying all the great stuff about our lives, or we're kind of like scared from even like trying to share ourselves and our true selves because it's like off brand or whatever. Um, so yeah, hopefully this project can be kind of like a way to connect with the backcountry tramping community in a way that's like more on like a human level, because yeah, we all benefit from that, I reckon. Is I was sort of envisioning like 2 to 8 pages from each person. Like I think especially if you're like writing a letter, it might be longer. Um, but really any pages that you want to share will be like gratefully accepted. We sort of need like 20 to 30 people to contribute to sort of round it out to make it a good sized book. And I've kind of put the deadline of 1st of October so that we can have time to, you know, design it together and print it and send it out, you know, have it available. We're going to have it on our website for sale. Yeah, I think it'll be quite nice to have like the name, date, and location from each page kind of in the corner. But you can keep it anonymous, as I said. I think location's nice. I feel like it'll be cool to like even have like maybe a page of the map with like all the dots of where everyone tramped. And yeah, the results would be like I'm envisioning like an A5 size book, just paperback, quite simple. The cover kind of like a creative rip-off of what the actual doc intentions book looks like. And then having it available on a website at an affordable price. And yeah, we can send each person that contributes 3 copies. And I'm also working on getting some prizes together. Keen to give it a go. I feel like next steps are like get planning, like do your future self a favor and like start thinking now of like what hut you're gonna go to, what dates you can do it. Because as you know, we all know, like life happens and it gets pretty busy pretty quick. I know that if we don't book in our tramps, like we just don't end up going. Like, yeah, and like buy a notebook, start journaling just at home, you know, give it a go. And yeah, like I said, we need like a good amount to make it like a proper book. So if you can invite a friend to join in, like do it together. If you're part of a tramping club, like share it with them. I'll also, if you're on the mailing list, make sure you're on the mailing list, and I will sort of send out reminders in the next few months to sort of encourage people to do it. So just like, do you feel like there's anything that is holding you back?